Hello everyone and welcome back to the workbench for another live stream. Today doing something a little bit different, and I'm showcasing pretty much all of the models which have been on my shelf over the last few years or so. I am in the process of running out of space, so I'm going to have to put some stuff into storage. So whilst I line up the first thing that I'd like to show you, let's get some thumbs up in chat to let me know that you can all hear and see me. So, first thing then. So I'm going to start off with one of the biggest things because it needs to go in a box and it's probably going to go in the bottom. It's not going to go in particularly neatly. So this was the little display base that I made for my Revell Lancaster. And I did a scratch-built trestle with a workman on it. And there's a cyclist there, so that was all glued down. You can see though that because this uses the softer plastic, the paint doesn't really stay stuck to it. But yeah, we've got some figures here. They haven't stayed glued to the base either. In hindsight, I know I made this back in like 2019, so painting wasn't the finest. I've got some thumbs up in the chat, that's good to see. So the painting wasn't the finest, but they were sort of okay. And then there's a bit of an engine cowling there. So let's find the Lancaster and put that on the base. And there it is. Quite a big kit. It's probably the biggest kit we're going to see this evening. Yeah, I think it is. There are some similar sized ones, but this is probably the biggest. So as you can see, it's probably a little bit dusty. It's been on the shelf for a number of years now, so a bit of dust has accumulated. I particularly enjoyed building this model. It had the option to have the engines here open, so you could see the internal parts, and my little guy here on the trestle would go up against it there like that, scratch built trestle. So he looks like he's working on the aircraft, which is pretty cool. When I did this one, if I remember correctly, I hand painted the whole thing, so it's not been airbrushed. Everything here has been hand painted. I think I used some masking tape down the side to get that nice straight edge, and I may have used a spray can for the varnish on the top, but yeah, everything was hand painted. This was pre-airbrush age for me. I didn't put any bombs on the inside. I had the idea that it had come back from a mission and was being repaired or serviced before it went on the next one. So yeah, did a little bit of weathering on this as well. Not too much, didn't go over the top. What do you guys think of this? Not bad for a hand-painted Lancaster, is it? It's not a bad kit. I've heard people say that there are some discrepancies in the moulding in reference to actual details, but I can't tell what they are. Apparently there's some misshapenness in some places. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Ran out of space. Yes, I did run out of space, sadly. Ryan says he's running out of space and he's just started Warhammer, so he's going to have even more. You're building the Revell Lancaster at this moment? Yeah, cool. This is, if it's the same version, I think they do a Dam Busters version as well. But yeah, this one's not too bad. I did end up gluing the props in their static position. They don't rotate anymore, which is a shame. But I think that's because of the way I built the engines. And the turrets, I don't know if the turrets turn. No, I don't think they do. Oh, the back one does. Oh, the back one just comes out. I think it was glued once upon a time. But yeah, so that's going to go in its box, or in a box, and we'll move on to the next thing. So basically everything that I'm taking off the shelf, showing you, and then putting in a box to go into storage. So there'll be a little bit of a pause in a few places whilst we do that. That's gone in the box. And then I'll just grab the next thing and we'll have a look. What have we got? Well, there'll be no guesses on this one. It is, of course, the Airfix Spitfire Mark V in 1/72 scale. So this one appears to be the one I did for the super glue challenge. So basically this whole model was built and assembled just using super glue, but I did spray it with Hataka. It was sprayed with Hataka paint, so I was getting some practice with spray painting. But I built this one just to see how well super glue works. It's okay. It's not the best glue for assembling plastic models, but it works okay. I do have another Spitfire somewhere. Bear with. and it is this one here. And it's the same one. It's the same Spitfire again. This time, though, this was painted with the starter set colours that came in it. And as you can see, it's damaged. I did a battle damage tutorial on this one. So that's quite an old kit now. That's a very old model. Suffered a bit of damage. The pitot tube's missing. But yeah, it's okay. I've got a group build on my Discord server. So something like this, it'd be broke, crashed with all the damage would be an appropriate subject for that. But because that kit's already built, I can't submit that one. I do have another Spitfire. It's the same Spitfire. This was airbrushed with Humbrol, the ones that came with it. I think these were the ones that came in the set, and they were airbrushed on to get some practice. This is one of the very early ones. But I did use this kit to do a panel line wash tutorial as well. So that's probably why the panel lines look a lot more darker on that one. And then finally, I have another Spitfire. So this was a Spitfire I picked up recently from Discount Supermarket here in the UK. And I've got a video on this coming out soon. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on to see how I built it. But as a side, you can see the different colours of the paints. The recent Humbrol paints, which are these ones here, which were included in this set, because this is the latest one I've built, they don't quite match the colours of the other Humbrol paints, do they? So these two are the older Humbrol colours, and they are darker. But you can see that this one doesn't quite match, does it? The brown is a lot more red, and the green is a bit lighter. So it's a bit questionable what's going on there in the Humbrol paint mixing facility. Naturally, Hataka paints slightly different green again. The green is a little bit more olive, I'd say, and the brown is a little bit lighter. But you know, they're pretty close. So those are my 4 Spitfire Mark 1s that I currently can see. Well, let's take a look in the chat. What's going on here? DJ Cannon says they bought a 10-pack of decals and a few of the Mark 1 kits just because they're on sale. Yeah, they are very cheap. They're not a bad kit to build either. The details on them are fairly good. The panel lines are a bit deep. It's a well-known comment about the panel lines on this, but it's a relatively good representation, and it's relatively easy to build as well. It's only got like 30 odd parts, so you can build it in an afternoon. It's not too difficult to do. Fenris is saying it is interesting how different colour is. It is strange, isn't it, that you've got old Humbrol colours and then the new Humbrol colours. And also, you might be able to tell that the paint finish on that one isn't quite as nice. It's a bit more chunky. This one was brush painted and this one was brush painted, but the brush paint finish on this one doesn't look quite as nice because the opacity wasn't the same. The paints were like thick but didn't have the same pigment density, so it was a strange experience. But yeah, so those are my Spitfires. Let's put them in my box. Let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Let's hide them underneath the Lancaster. So sadly, I haven't really got any best way of putting it all in the box. It's all just going in the box. I'm sure things will probably end up getting broken, but I can glue them back together. That's not an issue. I think now it's probably time to look at some Hurricanes. Ruben. Hello. Hello, Ruben from Uruguay. So now I've got 2 Hurricanes. There we go. So the one on the right is the Airfix Mark 1. I think it's the early Mark 1 because it's got the fabric representation on the wings. Whereas this one here is the Hobby 2000 reboxing. I've forgotten, was it Hasegawa? And it's a slightly later Mark 1 because it's got metal wings. It was technically a Mark 2 because it's got extra details for guns that should be here, but sadly doesn't have. You had to edit it to not be that version. Slight damage there. The wheel hasn't really survived, and I did have some issues with building this one, but it looks okay on the whole. There is a slight issue at the back there where the canopy, this bit here, it's slightly the wrong shape. I think Airfix's one is a little bit more accurate, but yeah, it's not a bad kit. It's nicely detailed on the whole. The transfers were cast-graphed, so they were really good, apart from the one on the nose, which they did a design error on. But yeah, not a bad kit. A little bit expensive for what it was, though. So those are my 2 Hurricanes. I don't think I've got any more Hurricanes on the... oh no, I do have one more Hurricane, but we'll come to him in a bit. So they're going in the box. Up next, I have a Curtiss Hawk. This is the export version to China, the Flying Tigers P40. Now let's check in the chat here. Simulator Pro was happy about the Hurricanes. I have, he says, you bet I have the entire RAF lineup. Well, I don't think I have the entire RAF lineup. I do have quite a selection, but I don't think I have all of them. So this is the Flying Tigers one. This was back when I was just getting into airbrushing. Yeah, I think I did a generally okay job with this. It wasn't too bad. I quite like the P40 kit, the 1/72 scale one that Airfix does, this one here. That's a really nice model to build. The fit is good. The transfers are good. Yeah, it's a good build. If you haven't built one of these, I know they had the Tomahawk version in the starter set or gift set in Lidl. So if you can get one, then that's definitely a good idea. So that is the Flying Tigers Airfix P40. Let's pop that one in the box. And we're going back in time a little bit. We have the Hawker Demon from Airfix. So this is a vintage classics kit. There is a build video on this on my channel, and you can see that it's a little bit crude. We've got some ejector pin marks there, which I didn't bother to do anything for. I also haven't bothered to put any rigging on this. I just find rigging to be one of the least enjoyable parts of building models. But on the whole, the kit isn't that bad to build. It's lacking a few details in a few places, but the details that are there are not too bad. It's a bit clunky, but then again, what would you expect for a vintage kit? It's like a 1960s tooling, I think. But yeah, not bad. I did airbrush this one, and it's a bit hard to see, but there is a difference between the metallic effect on the nose here. So this part here is more shiny than the rest of the aircraft because it was more actual metal, whereas everything else was doped metallic effect. But yeah, the figures on this aren't too bad given the age. So yeah, let's put that one in the box. And we'll have a look at another silver aircraft. There we go. So this is an Airfix P51 Mustang, which I've done in custom Royal New Zealand Air Force colours. I think this was an early airbrush attempt, but the panels that you can see here, they were hand painted with a slightly different colour. And a common complaint about the Airfix kits are the small details. The small details are very fragile, and you can see that over time, the landing gear, especially this side here, has bent in on itself. It's not as attached as it once was, and that's because of the very small contact area that we've got at the top, and it doesn't really support the weight correctly. So the Airfix kind of went for accuracy over functionality on that one. I do have another P51 here somewhere. Bear with me. And there we go. I'll just put it off the shelf. Bit dusty, this one. This one's been on there a very long time. So this is the Mr. Craft P51 Mustang, which I forget who it was before. But you can see that the landing gear legs on this one are considerably more sturdy. But spot the intentional mistake, and I glued the landing gear on the wrong sides. They should be the other way around. But comparing them, I'd say that naturally the Airfix version, being more modern, more recent, has a better level of detail. And actually, I know this is a older P51B, and this is a D, so there's slight differences anyway. But yeah, the detail level on the Airfix one is better. But this isn't a bad kit. The wing roots obviously need a bit of work if you're going to build one of these. Transfers were not great, but they were okay. So yeah, not a terrible kit, but something that you can build. And if you wanted to upgrade it, I suppose you could probably do a bit of scratch building and stuff on it. So those are my two P51s, which are going to go in my box. And let's take a quick look at the chat. Didn't I build a grass runway for it and pose it taking off? No, that was Champion Scale Modelling. Champion Scale Modelling did that, but I did link him in my video. So yeah, he's done a build of the Hawker Demon. Worth a watch. Right. Oh, yes. One of my favourites. Let's take a look at this one. A little bit dusty. Very small. There it is. So this was, or is, the Beacon Models BF109 in 1 to 144th scale. And this was the pre-production sample that I was sent to do a test build. And in the process of building this one, I did discover a few areas that needed improvement. And I fed them back to the designer, and those design changes were made into the actual production version, which is now available for sale on the Beacon Models website. So extras here. So in the kit, you only get your plane. It's a nice little plane. It comes with optional extras like your bombs. It does have variant things in there. I even did the rigging on this one, the aerial wire. You can see that on there, I think. Yeah. See the aerial wire on there? I even did that, which I don't normally do. I find it to be a bit of a tedious job, but I did it on this one. It's a lovely little kit to build. And when you build something small like this, and then you move on to something bigger, you go, wow, I can't believe I was working on something that small before. But yeah, it's a lovely little kit. The pre-production sample was lovely, and I haven't yet built my main version, but I'm looking forward to that. And they've done a Spitfire as well. Extras that we got are some pilots. So the pilot figure is an extra, which Beacon Models also designed, and the Kubelwagen as well. That's a 3D printed extra, which they've designed, and I think you might be able to get them on the website as well. The extras here, the cans and the bag and things, those are all just freebies off of Thingiverse, and in my original build video you can find the links to all of those. If you look very closely, I don't know if it'll pick it up, on the top of the drum there, just there, is a tiny little German helmet, which I don't think many people notice, but yeah, there's a little tiny German helmet there. So that is the Beacon Models BF109. Absolutely fantastic kit if you're into small scale models. Let's put that one in the box. Easier said than done. And another thing that I did when I was getting into 3D printing, when I first was figuring it all out, was on Thingiverse, and I didn't make a video about this. I just did it. It was just it was a personal project. So this is a Pelican Dropship from Halo, and this file, all the files here, apart from the display base is one of mine. I designed this. I designed the display base. I can't get my words out. I designed the display base myself, and it should have. Oh no, it hasn't. It hasn't quite come out, but on the it does have on the actual version it does have my name or the brand name on there. So I've turned it over. My little figures. These are the little Spartans or ODSTs or whatever they are. They are on the base and they've just fallen off. But this is what my printer did. This is what the Elegoo Mars 2 did. I'm surprised it actually printed them at such fine, small details. We've got a couple of warthogs and then some crates and things as well. But the Pelican Dropship, that came out lovely. Originally I painted it a bit too bright, but then I moved on and made it darker. But it's a very lovely model. I can't remember who did it, but I think if you just Google it on Thingiverse, it'll come up. But the way it was originally designed was that these parts could all be moved. You could reposition them if you wanted to, but I just glued mine in place. But yeah, so this is all like 1 to 400 scale, I think. And it just depicts them loading or preparing to load the Pelican with some vehicles. So yeah, that was a really fun, sort of like a few days it took me to do that one, I think, just to figure out how to do printing. Let's put that one in the box and then have a look at something else. Right, here we go. Let's move on to a land vehicle. Let's have a look here. What's happening in the chat? Saying that looks good, yeah, thank you. Have I thought about donating any of these to museums? I'm not really sure who'd take them, to be honest. I'm sure someone probably would, but I'm not sure who or when. So, yeah, I guess we'll have to see. So, this is the Airfix Sherman in 176. I don't think it was a vintage classic when I built it. There was that whole thing, wasn't there, where they were releasing stuff which should be a vintage classic and it wasn't. I don't think this was a vintage classic when I built it, but it should have been because now it is. Yeah, not a terrible kit, a bit clunky, bit oversimplified. Quite good for figuring out how to do weathering techniques. I didn't quite get the tracks right here. They're a bit out of place. It's a bit shiny as well. I should really put more of a matte finish on it. I think I used Citadel Nuln Oil as the wash, and it's made it a bit shiny. It's not the best kit in the world. And we'll have a look at another tank after this, and we can see the difference. I think I built this one first, but I don't tend to build that much in the way of armor, which I really should do. I really should build some more armor. Yeah, so that is the Airfix Sherman, and we'll look at a different tank now, which I really enjoyed this actually. This is the Revell. I think it's a Panzer II. So you can see I did a much better job of this one. It was a lovely little kit to build. This is an X-Matchbox kit, and the details on this are so good. Spinning turret there. I don't know if that goes up and down. I can't remember. I don't think it does. I think it's fixed in one direction. Rubber band tracks, so not great. Oh, they're not quite on either. I've knocked them off. Be careful of that. But yeah, a nice little build. Everything fitted together really well. The details are pretty good on there. You can see that they a little wash and a bit of dry brushing, and that was all that was needed to bring them out. And it even comes with a little display base and 2 figures. So, you know, that was fantastic. I know they've rebranded or reboxed again these as My First Diorama, and you can get them to build as a new set, but they're not technically new. But I added some extras to the display base to make it a little bit more interesting. There's a little bit of grass in a couple of places, but we've got some sort of damage to the roof, and we've got sticks and rocks and things lying around. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I've got time for these little diorama sets. I know they're a little bit old, but they still build lovely. They're absolutely fantastic builds. So if you want to get one, I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, that's my Revell Panzer II. So let's move on. Let's see what else we've got in the shelf. Another Revell kit. This is the Sopwith Camel. Again, another biplane. Not too bad to build. A little bit of an old kit. This would be considered a vintage classics if this was an Airfix kit, but you know, it's not. It's just in the normal Revell range. Details generally okay. I didn't go for the rigging on this either. Did add a little extra line there on the bombs just to make them look a little bit more realistic. Yeah, it's fine. As far as kits go, this is fine. It took me probably too long. It took me longer than it should have done to build this. It took me like 2 years. I started it and then just shelved it, and then, you know, about 2 years later I came back and finished it. So yeah, all hand painted, not airbrushed. So yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad model if you want a simple Sopwith Camel to build, and the transfers are pretty nice as well. Let's put that one in the box. And yes, a ship. I've got a ship here. So this is just removing the cobwebs off of it because it's been on the shelf for so long. The cobwebs looked a bit like rigging. This is I forgot what scale it was. Like 1,200 scale. I've forgotten which ship it actually is. Does it not tell me on it? It is the Missouri. That's what it is. It's 1 to 2,000 scale Missouri. That's right. So I got this in the works. It was like £3, but it's a rebrock box of another company, EKA or something, 2003 design. Not too bad of a model. It comes with 2 little planes on the back there, but they're just sort of representations. The details are not amazing, but it looks okay. It's good practice for building ships. Quite small, not expensive. Pocket money kit, really. Yeah, not a bad model on the whole. I have got some bigger ships to build, so I'll get around to them hopefully at some point. Let's take a quick look at the chat, see how we're all getting on. Jeff72's in the chat, hello, welcome. And Cali Bear's there as well. X Matchbox sets are perfect for starting out. They are, they're so good. I would recommend them. Fenris loves mini kits. I love mini diorama kits, yeah, they're so good. Do Revell still make biplanes? I'm sure that if you have a look, you can probably find some. Depends on the shops, because Revell are this kind of company who put out loads of kits and then they just leave them on shelves. So I've got another biplane here from Revell. This is their Stearman Cadet. Built this a couple of years ago. Landing gear legs look a bit funny on this. I don't think they're meant to be that far apart, but they are. And I did do rigging on this one. I think it was... what was it? It wasn't a stretch sprue. It was invisible thread, which I then gave a bit of a paint. I think I did like Humbrol 53 or something like that. Particularly happy with the engine. I like how the engine came out on this one. Oh, it doesn't turn. Oh, it does turn. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. But everything else is just a bit clunky. It's an old kit. This was the one which had the pilot figures that just didn't look like pilot figures. They looked like jelly babies. Yeah, so I didn't use them. But interestingly, if you look close enough, you can see that the transfers have started to disintegrate. They've all started to crack. I think even the blue ones have started to crack. So I don't really know what that's about, because these haven't really been anywhere or done anything. They just have cracked, which is a bit of a shame. But then again, this kit is 2019, like 5 years old now. Yeah, not a bad kit to build, just not particularly great either. So let's move on. And speaking of not great kits, this is the PZL 37 from Mr. Craft. It's been in storage for a little bit of time. This one itself, it's lost a bit of its landing gear. Most of the parts I've already got in a little bag, so I can reattach them if I need to. But I just really struggled with this kit. This was an old kit, and this was me in the day when I first was, like in my first 3 years of YouTube. I didn't really know much about, or as much now, about modelling. If you want to build a model, that's fine. This is absolutely fine for being built. However, it's not a great kit to build. I had some issues with this one. You can see this. I don't know. It's like a weird lemon peel or orange peel effect I've got going on with the paint. I absolutely butchered it. I used the wrong. Oh, there's loud noises outside. I used the wrong varnish, and it ended up reacting with the enamel. I think I was using enamel on this build, which has caused it to peel, and it's not a great finish. There's no chance this is museum quality. This is like a journey. This is like a learning kit. What did I do wrong, and why did it go wrong? So there's gaps and there's fit issues, and yeah, if I were to build this again, I probably could do a considerably better job, but I don't think I would want to build this one again. Calabear built that one. Yeah, it's not great, is it? It's not a great model. But let's take a look at one which is considerably better. And this is the Airfix Boulton Pool Defiant in 1/72 scale. Again, it's lost a wheel. It's probably lost a few other bits and pieces. This was not the starter set version. This was the normal version, because I think it came with other transfers. But I painted it in Night Fighter colours because it had those really cool teeth on it. And yeah, it's a nice kit to build. I have got another one in the stash, which is the starter set version, but it doesn't have the paints and glue, etc., because I got it cheap. Those were missing. I got it for like £3. So I'll probably redo the Defiant at some point in its camouflage scheme. Yeah, a nice little kit. And I know they do one in 1/48 scale as well, which I'm led to believe is even better. So yeah, decent. Let's move on. Oh yeah, I was talking about the bag of bits. Here's my bag of bits. So anything that I lose, I'll throw in this bag and then I can reattach it. So I've got a little plane there. There's a little tiny plane in there, if you can see that. That is from the Hobby Boss i400. So there's my Hobby Boss i400. So there's the little display stand that it comes with. That's a nice little display stand. That's not bad, is it? So this was a decent kit, actually. It's not overly complicated, but it looks nice. It's quite nice to build. You can get quite quick progress with this one. Painted up here, put a wash on, brings out the details really nicely. That's a nice little kit to do, and it comes with a little display stand. You put that on there. There you go. Little display stand, and the plane went on the front on the catapult launch ramp there, but it's fallen off over time. Yeah, that's nice. I like that one. I could be tempted to do more Hobby Boss submarines. I don't know if they do more, but if they do more, I could be tempted. This is a BF 109G 6. This is the Airfix one, done in the Swiss colours, and I tried hand painting the mottling on this one. Didn't turn out particularly great. It's okay. It's not as good as airbrushed mottling, and I'm sure there is another way to do it better with a paintbrush, but it's okay. As far as kits go, this was one of the earlier new Hornby designs from when Hornby took over, and it's fine. It's simple. It's similar to that Spitfire Mark V that we saw earlier. It is lacking detail. It hasn't got much in the way of rivets. It's not got any cockpit detail. It's literally just got a pilot in a chair. Details are recessed. Fit is quite good, but it's a simple kit. And the sad thing with this kit is that it's a simple kit, which is almost a starter set with how simple it is, but they retail it not as a starter set. So it's more expensive than it probably should be for what it is. So this kit in particular came with 2 transfer schemes, which starter sets don't, which was obviously going to push the price up. So this is done in the Swiss colours. I'm pretty sure I masked off the red areas on there and painted them with enamel. I think everything else might have been acrylic, but I can't remember. There is a build video out on the channel if you want more information. But that is going to go in the box, and I think the landing gear is in the bag. Yeah, the landing gear is in there. So we'll put that one in the box. And a quick look at the chat. What's going on in the chat? Fenris also did that one in the Swiss colours. Yep. Keith loves the Boulton Pool Defiant and is asking if the Airfix 148 scale is any good. I'm led to believe it is good. If the 172nd scale one was good, then the 148 one. This is what I've sort of discovered over the last couple of years. If you build the 172nd one, usually the 148 scale one is a bit better. What else have we got in the chat? Yeah, they might re-release the Swiss 109. They have got the 109 in the range this year, but it's a different version. So, yeah, sort of swings and roundabouts with the kits. It depends on which version they come out with. This is the Beacon Models pilot that we saw earlier. Or no, this is the RAF version, I think. This is the RAF figure. This is an STL file you can get on their website. And I just printed it out on my filament printer just to see how it would turn out, and then I gave it a quick paint. It's all right. It's not bad quality. If I printed this in resin, it would look considerably better. But yeah, it's not bad. Figures like this are perfect for practicing your painting techniques. I'm not sure I would do what I did with the painting on this one again, but it doesn't look too bad. So let's put that one in the box. This was a fun project. There we go. Look at that. I love that. This is my Star Wars X-Wing in United States Air Force colours, or Army Air Force colours. So I've taken the, what are they? These are the transfers, I think, from the earlier P-51 kit we saw, because I did that one in custom colours. I used the transfers on this and made it into a what-if kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure you can even take R2-D2 out. There we go. You can take R2-D2 out if you don't want him in his little slot and put him back in. There we go. A little bit of play value there. If he goes back in, there we go. And yeah, it's not a bad kit, the Rebel one. I think I got this one quite cheap, but prices of this have been going up slowly over time. Slightly annoying though is that you can't close the wings. They are always out. They're always permanently open. I think if you remove the sort of lugs which are on the inside, then it will close, but it won't stay open, which is a shame. But yeah, this was a good fun little what if project, and I used spray cans. It was just a spray can and then a wash and a bit of extra paint in a few places just to make it pop a little bit. So yeah, that was a fun project. I'd be tempted to do more stuff like that in the future. Right, starter set. This was the Airfix Gnat in 1/72 scale starter set. This was the yellow jack Gnat. I went for the one with the black tail. It's a fine kit. I think I used the yellow that was included in the kit, or possibly bits of it, which isn't great. It's not a great yellow. It's a fine kit to build. It builds up into a lovely little model, but the included paints weren't fantastic. I would definitely use different yellow paints in the future if I were to do this one again. I do have a couple of more Gnats actually in the stash to do, but they are in a different paint scheme. So we'll look at that one in the future perhaps. But yeah, not a bad little model. And I've been told that the 1/48 scale version of this from Airfix is absolutely fantastic. So if you want, go and check out Modelling Weekly's latest video, because he builds the bigger version of this in the red flight school colours. And he says it's fantastic. So definitely worth a watch on how he did that one. Here is a Corsair. And the prop is in that bag, so I have got the prop still. This is the Revell Corsair, and it's not a bad model, actually. I built this one in collaboration with Shuttle Factory Scale Models. So this goes back, this is going back, this is like 2019 era now. So my build video is on his channel, and his build video is on my channel. But yeah, this was a fun little project to do. I don't think I quite got the colours right. I think they should be darker, a more darker blue. But yeah, the model on the whole isn't that bad to do. It's not a bad little kit. Details are fairly good. Builds up quite nicely. So let's put that one away. And sticking with the naval kind of theme, we've got the Higgins LCVP, Landing Craft Vehicle Personnel. Well, there's a tail wheel from something in there. Yeah, this is a decent kit, to be fair. It's nicely detailed. It's not that old. Airfix retooled this in something like 2010, 2013, something like that. Fits really nicely together. The details in there are pretty decent. I went for the Royal Navy colours because I thought they were just more interesting than the grey that the United States had. Yeah, not too bad. Maybe it's a little bit too shiny, but I went for some weathering on this as well. And it even comes with a little stand, which you can plonk it on the right way around. If you just put it on your desk. So when you put it on your desk or your shelf, it's not just listing over to one side. You put it on there and then it stands up properly, which is a nice little addition. Airfix didn't have to do that, but they did, and it's a nice addition. And it's detailed as well. It's got little like rivets and things on it, which is nice. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, this does float. You can put this in your bath if you want to and let it float around. I wonder if you could even motorize it. I don't know if that propeller would be any good, but you could definitely get a motor into the shaft or something, I reckon. Those who are tech savvy would know how to do that. But yeah, that's a decent little model. Could be tempted to do more of them in the future. Calibeth, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for reigniting my mojo with your stream. Wasn't making any kits in 4 months from doing one now. Good. Get your kits out. Get them all out now and get them built. Whilst we're all here together, I'll be your motivation. There we go. Thank you so much for the super chat. What else are we looking at? Should do a TIE Fighter and German markers. Yeah, it's been suggested. I do have some, but the thing with kits is when I get one, I kind of want to do it as per the manufacturer's instructions. And then I want to do another one. So I do already have the X-Wing in its normal colours. So that's why I did that one as an extra. Right, let's move on. We've got... this was a decent little kit. This is the Trumpeter 144 scale F86. It's a little bit dusty now. I glued it onto a little display base because I forgot to put nose weight in, I'm pretty sure. And as a result, it didn't fit. It wasn't on its wheels. So I put it on a little display base and glued it down. It's not a bad little display base, just bits of card cut up into squares, weathered and added a bit of grass. The kit's quite nice though. It's got these air brakes which open up, your landing gear down. Yeah, recessed panel lines. Lovely little build, nice and simple. One overall paint scheme. I think I used the same kind of spray paint as I used on the X-Wing. Yeah, That's a nice little kit. But speaking of nose weight, I have gone and bought this. This is liquid gravity from Deluxe Materials, because I'm always forgetting to put nose weight in there. So these are like little, I don't know if it's lead. It's definitely some kind of metal, and it's heavy. It weighs quite a bit. So yeah, you take your little ball bearings as they are in there. You see little ball bearings. You glue them in side and the nose, and then your plane shouldn't fall over. I had pretty much been using blue tack and nails and screws and bolts and things, and even pennies, like gluing pennies in the front of the plane to stop them falling down, but sometimes it just wasn't enough. So that's quite heavy. That should work quite nicely. Right, put that in the box. Oh, guess what? It's another Spitfire. This was a lovely Spitfire to build. This is the Eduard Spitfire Mark V in 1/72nd scale. I did this in United States colours. This was such a lovely model to build. They did such a good job of this one when they designed it. There's lots of lovely little recess details with rivets, like the tail panel here. It's just got rivets all over it. If you're into rivets, this is a good kit to build. It came with photo etch. So I've got photo etch seat belts. It's got little tiny details. Some of the details I didn't bother putting in because you're not really going to see them. The transfers were okay. It's a lovely kit. I'd recommend it to anyone if you love Spitfires. I really want to do some more Eduard kits. I've got the I want to say MiG-15 in 144th scale to do from them, and that looks just as nice as well. Spitfire extravaganza. I do have quite a lot of Spitfires. They are kits that I build quite a lot of. But yeah, this was a nice build, and this was back in the day when I first started airbrushing as well. So I really tried with this one. I put a lot of time and effort into building this kit, and I think that shows because it's got bits of chipping, bit of weathering, fairly neat paint job. Build quality is quite good. Yeah, I learned a lot of lessons on this. Right, what is next? Oh, from a good one to a bad one, maybe? So this is, by the looks of it, that is an Airfix BF109, but I'm pretty sure that's the starter set challenge kit. That's the one I did for my starter set challenge back in the day. And it's, yeah, I think it is, because if you look at the pilot, if you can see him in there, he's got a grey face rather than being painted properly. So there's no varnish on this. It's just painted and assembled with just what was inside the kit, apart from I let myself have a knife. Not too bad, actually, given what was in the kit. Not sure it'd be so easy to do now with the change of the Humbrol paints. But yeah, this one turned out okay. Possibly a challenge I might revisit. So if you'd like to see that, let me know if I revisit a starter set challenge and which starter set I should use. Not too bad. Let's have a quick look at the chat, see how everyone's getting on. Everyone's having a lovely time in the chat. Excitement, yep. I hope we're all building something. Anfield Roads here. Hello, welcome to the stream. Ninja with a fish on the back has an Airfix Spitfire Mark 1, but there was a chemical reaction between the Mark. Oh, yes. I think if you have micro sol and then Humbrol clear, I think you need to leave it like ages. You need it to be completely dry. I've used Humbrol decal fix immediately after micro sol, and there has been some weird reaction where it's gone grainy. So you kind of have to wait until it's completely dry and there's nothing left on it. If you're going to use any other Humbrol products near it, I don't know what it is that reacts, but there is something that reacts. David's here. Hello, David. Welcome to the stream. James is watching this while building his Vickers Wellington Mark. What's that? 2? Nice. That's probably quite a big kit. I've built the. What did I build? I built the Whitley. I built the Whitley. So I imagine it's a similar sort of size. That one modeler says recently joined the Airfix Club. What is my opinion on the Meteor? Looks nice. The Meteor in the red box, it looks nice. I would love to build it soon, but I haven't had a chance. Doc Brown Scale Models is here. Mr. Start into storage. Yeah, so I have to put it all into storage because I've run out of space. I'm building more kits and I need to put them on the shelf. and these ones I need to hide somewhere. They need to go somewhere because I haven't got any space for them anymore. Dot Brown Scale Models has just uploaded an interesting video on a PM model, Beechcraft. Is that right? Let us know in the chat, Dot Brown, if I've got that right. But he's used some new silver spray paint on that, and it looks lovely. So definitely worth a watch if you are into that. I actually saw that kit in the shop, and I was tempted to get it, but I didn't. But it doesn't look too bad. So let's move on. Let's get some comments in chat. What's this? What is this plane? What is this plane, and who's it by? And what's wrong with it? What is this plane? Who is it by? And what is wrong with it? Let's get some comments in the chat. Let's see if people can recognize it. There's always a bit of a lag. There's always about 10 seconds. I like how the metallic effect came out on the engine nozzle there. That's quite nice. Let's see. It was a Beechcraft 8011. Yeah, no worries, Dot Brown. No worries. We've got Academy F16. It's an F16. Yep, there you go. You're getting it now. Academy 144th scale F16. And look at the shape. Look at the shape on this. That's off, isn't it? Like the nose shape is wrong. It's almost like someone was described what an F16 looks like, and then they went off of the description rather than using actual measurements. So, like again, this is a kit that if you want to build something, build it. I think these in real life were more of a grey than a yellow, so I don't really know why the transfers were yellow rather than grey. But yeah, it was a kit to build. It was definitely a model to build. So yeah, that was that. I have got some of the other 144th scale Academy kits as well, and after building that one, I'm not so sure I want to do the rest. I do have another one built, and that is the Tornado GR1, possibly. This was painted with extra acrylics, Desert Pink, I think it was. Again, it looks a little bit off. It is made so that you can fold the wings back if you want to. It's got like a cog system on the inside. So I glued mine in place. But if you wanted to, you could fold them back. But what's the point in folding it back when the pylons don't swivel either? So they'd all just end up pointing out, which would look weird. So a bit of a design flaw there. I mean, you could have it in the swept back position and then glue them on in the right place, but then if you open them out, then they'd be pointing in or something. So strange. This was an early build, brush painted. I could have cleaned up a lot of the seams on here. Like in hindsight, as they say, is 2020. So you can always look back in what you did with clarity, but sometimes at the time you just don't have the capacity to do it, and that's fine. You know, it's your kit. Build it how you want to build it. You learn from it, don't you? You learn from where you went wrong or what you could do better. Tank. Let's look at a tank. This was a nice simple kit to build. This is the Churchill Mark 6 or 7 or something like that. Vintage classic kit from Airfix, 176 scale. It's all right. It's fine. It's probably showing its age now, but it's still a perfectly acceptable kit to build if you want one. The wheels are a pain. As you can probably tell, I didn't do a massively good job. They're all a bit higgledy-piggledy. A little bit better on this side, but still not fantastic. But yeah, it's all right to build. If you want a cheap little Churchill to build, I think there are better ones out there, but I haven't built them. The aerial masts here are just extra bits of stretched sprue. It was just painted with Vallejo, I think, and then dry brushed and a bit of a wash applied. So nothing too fancy on that one, but it looks all right. Oh, and then we've got another little tank. This one's even smaller. This is an M3 Stewart on a little base, which I made for it. This is part of their, it's like a wargaming range, so it's 1 to 100 scale. It's, oh, that doesn't turn. I think that used to turn, but it's probably over time just got itself stuck. I think I used a bit of stretch sprue on the aerial there as well. So it comes with this little flag. I put an old, I think it might have been from the Sherman that I showed you earlier. I put that on there as a little like marker. But yeah, it comes with a little flag because you can use it in wargaming to show whose faction it belongs to. You put it down on your table and you know whose tank it is. It's not a bad little model though. It's relatively well detailed and it was very quick to put together. It's a very quick assembly model. It doesn't come with any transfers or decals though, which is a shame. But I put it on a little base. It's just driving along. There we go. Let's take another little look at the chat. That's a squeaky chair. I've got a spinny chair and it's a bit squeaky. Dot Brown's never done a tank. Probably should. They're not bad. I don't do enough. Laser Bomb says he builds it when he first got into modelling and it set me off Airfix. Yeah, no, the Churchill. Yeah, I can imagine. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a first model to build. Oh, I've just found this on my shelf. It's a little pot. It's a little pot of pre-mixed. It was paint that I mixed. It was a red. That's dead now, isn't it? I don't remember why I mixed that. I think that was for a TIE fighter, you know, like the Red 5 type of markings. And then I was like, oh, I'll use that for something else. I'll use it for another, like a Clone Wars vehicle or something. And then I never did it. And it's just been sat on my shelf. So that we've been. Check that out. And speaking of Star Wars, this is a lovely kit. Yeah, this is a wonderful little kit. This is the Bandai Millennium Falcon, and I can't remember the scale, but it is absolutely fantastic. Oh, Calabear's dropped another super chat. Thank you so much. Now you've cut yourself or cleaning apart a splat. Oh my word. Are you okay? Do we need to send someone around to check that you're okay? I hope that you're fine. You must be okay if you're still typing in the chat. Oh, Fenrir says, yeah, it's. I don't think it is 1 to 144. I think this is smaller. Look, I think it might be 1/350. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it might be 1/350 because look how small it is. It fits in the palm of my hand. If it was 1 to 144, it would be like the size of that Lancaster, surely. You wouldn't know it though. If you just showed you the picture of it up close, the details on it are amazing. And I did a nice little bit of weathering on it as well. I think I hand painted all of this. It was all hand painted and I picked out all the panels individually. Up close, the panels don't look so good, but from a reasonable distance, they look okay. And it comes with this nice little base as well, which is a nice addition. Like that. Well, I got time for that kind of kit. I do have another Bandai Star Wars kit in the stash somewhere, which I may build for Go Big or Go Home, which will be the next group build. This takes me back. One of the first tutorials I made on my channel was to do simple display bases. And this is just a picture frame. It's a picture frame with cardboard cut into squares or rectangles, and then a little bit of scatter material put down the gaps and painted to look like tarmac. And you put your plane or something on there, and it should look all right. So here's a plane. Plonk that on there. And it should look quite convincing, depending on what you're going for. So yeah, let's put that one in the stash. So this then, this plane here, anyone know what this plane is? Anyone want to hazard a guess what kind of plane this is and who's it from? And when it appeared on my channel perhaps, who was around for that? This is going back. This is like memorabilia at this point. I do need to hold on to this though. I need to make sure it's near the top of my box because I do actually need to get to this at some point. Because I have got content planned which involves this one. So let's have a look in chat. What are people saying? Some people talking about the bases there. It's a P51D. It is a P51D, but it's a very crude representation of a P51D. Anyone know who the manufacturer was? Revell. There we go. I have no last name, got it. It is the Revell P51D Mustang in 1/72 scale. And this was the very first kit that I made a build video about on my channel. Back in the day, I said this was a good kit. And my word, was I wrong. This is not a good kit in any way. The dimensions, so dimensionally, is way off. The rivets are just everywhere. I don't even think they're accurately placed. I just think it's just done in lines. Like, dimensionally, it just doesn't look like a P-51. It's like, if you want something to glue together, this is fine. If you want something that looks like a P-51, it's not really this. The tailplane's not glued on properly. It's all a wonky angle. Landing gear is pretty horrendous. I hand painted it though. It's okay. I think I used enamels for this because that was using previous knowledge. This was all pre-airbrush. This was very basic skills. It's all right, but I've got this kit to build again at some point. To celebrate getting 25,000 subs, which I'm well past now. So I'm a bit behind on that front. So I'll build it again and see if I can do a better job of it. I have one in the stash. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. I'll do a comparison build. The first kit I built and then what it looked like at 25,000 subs. But, I mean, I'm nearly at 40 now, so I'm well behind on that. Oh, yeah, this was a fun project. Yeah. So this... is the Master Box Camel Rider and Soldier. They are lovely figures. This is 135 scale. It's on one of my own design printed bases. And I did a bit of sand and gravel and rocks and stuff on there. And added a few little extra details like the, what's this? The rope around the camel's head and the stick that he's holding. Yeah, I enjoyed this actually. I don't normally do figures, but this one turned out all right. Did this for a group build that we had over on the server. I think it was called, was it the War in the Desert? I think it was the War in the Desert. So, he was in a desert when he... Yeah, it's a good build. I'd be tempted to do more things like this. Humbrol is a good varnish. Yeah, sometimes. Depends on which varnish you get from Humbrol. Some of them are better than others. You can get them in little jars and you get them in a big jar as well, so I don't know if they're exactly the same. Yeah. So, little plane then. Little plane to look at now. This is the 144th scale Zvezda Fairey Battle. Again, a nice little kit to build, part of their... it's like a wargaming range. It's fine. The registry on the dots on there seem a bit off, but yeah, I think I hand painted the top, but I used a spray can on the bottom. It is an absolutely fine little model to build. I think there are some inaccuracies with the transfers. I don't think that they actually were HA Randall J and then HA Randall J. I think it was HA Randall J and then HA Randall J on this side rather than that way. But yeah, I think that was the only issue with it that I noticed when I was doing some research. Small bit of fit issue there, but yeah, this is a very simple kit to build and not bad. It's not a bad kit if you want a very small Fairey Battle. War in the Desert, yeah, I thought so. I thought that was what I did it for. Will I make YouTube Shorts content? I'm still trying to get my head around YouTube Shorts and how to make it and how best to do it. I have heard that they're going to make it have a thing where it will read or send people back to your main content. So if they're going to bring that out, that might be a good way to go. Like, hey, here's my little ship I've done, and you watch the short, and then you click on a button, and it takes you to the main video. So I think that might be quite cool to do. But again, it all comes down to time, doesn't it? I don't have a lot of time at the moment to do these sorts of things. So what have I got here? This is the Airfix Mary Rose in 1 to 400 scale, I want to say. This is a good kit for a beginner. Don't be put off by the fact that it has sails, because it's a very simple build. They just glue on. There isn't any reference of rigging. I'm sure you could do rigging if you wanted to. And all of this slightly complicated paintwork up here, most of it's just transfers. So as long as you can paint a white band along there and paint that white, then you find everything else is just the wood colour, more or less. And it goes on a little display base. It's a nice little model that if you're into ships and you're a beginner, this is perfect for you. I think they're even selling it as a starter set now, so yeah, go and get one. I think it was a starter set, actually. I think it's more of a gift set, is what they classed it as. Oh, there we go. This is a fun little project that I did. Now this is a Curtiss Hawk biplane, and it was 3D printed. Everything you see here was 3D printed on my Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. Found the files online, can't remember exactly who they're from. I was very new to 3D printing, so it's not perfect. I could have done considerably better. Some of the parts are warped, and that's because of my lack of experience with supporting them. But yeah, not a bad model by the end of it. I think I used some spare old transfers that I had knocking around and airbrushed some stripes onto the side there, just masked them up. Didn't bother with any rigging or fitting a pilot or anything. It's a very simple build, but it was quite good fun, and I learned a lot about 3D printing in the process. So yeah, that was a nice build to do. Right, let's put that one in the box. And speaking of 3D printing, this was one of the test prints that came out of the printer when I first did it. And yeah, the fact that a 3D printer can make something like that is just insane, isn't it? That was just straight out of the box, effectively. Just press print and it went. A bit stuck to the bottom, but the detail, the fact you can read text and stuff, it's just... This is... now, seeing as this is a couple of years old, this isn't even the highest quality printers you can get. You can get much higher definition. This is still pretty good. So yeah, no. Let's look at something else. This is a Academy motorcycle rider, which came with a helicopter. The helicopter is up there somewhere, but I think it's behind something else. This was just at the front. So it's just waving at you there, telling you to stop. I was going to do originally the helicopter and the rider in one video, but when I finished building this took me like a whole day just to do this guy and the bike. I was surprised it was that complicated, to be honest. So yeah, it's a model inside itself, and it does bring a little bit of a challenge with the painting on the figure. Decals though in the kit, not great. The printing on them is pretty terrible, and I had to use literally Tamiya extra thin cement to get them to stick. Yeah, that was kind of insane, the fact that I had to use that. And speaking of Academy, some questionable decals. Getting back to a bigger kit now. This is their 1/48th, although technically I think it's actually 1/50th scale, Mirage 3C. And yeah, the transfers on this were pretty horrendous. They were very thick and papery, and you can still see where they didn't really want to settle down. I don't know if I used Tamiya extra thin on this. The kit itself is fine to build. It's not an expensive kit. It's not, you know, amazing. It's quite an old kit. It's got recessed details, and it's even got rivets and things in a few places. It's okay if you want a Mirage to build, which looks okay. This is the one to do. Right, let's have a look in the chat. I did hate the decals. Yeah, they were not good. Revel has a similar HMS Victory in 1/450 as a nice starter set. Yeah, that'd be quite good to get, I imagine. Was here for the F-35. Glad to be back to see what you've got. Thank you. Thank you for turning up. You've built the same kit. Nice. And what else? Italeri MiG-21. No, it's not a MiG-21, unfortunately. This is the Mirage. I have a MiG-21 somewhere. It's right at the top. So we'll have a look at that one in a bit. Let's put that one in the box. And then... Oh, box is getting quite full now. I know we were just talking about the HMS Victory, but I've got one here. Oh wow, this has not aged well. The paint is I don't remember the paint looking like that when I built it. It's missing a flag there as well. And it had decals for the flags on here. and you can see that they've disintegrated, which isn't great. This was not one of my best builds. I think I was in a rush. I think this was like 2017. This was like a year after I started. So it wasn't one of the best I've done. Oh, that isn't stuck on. A lot of lessons will have been learnt since this. This is a very early in my modelling career build. Not a great looking model. I don't even think this video gets views anymore. If you want to go watch a really old vintage me building a vintage kit in a vintage way, go take a look. Nice boat, thank you. There we go. Here's another slightly vintage kit. Well, vintage in the sense that I built it a long time ago. I can't remember what it is now. I think it's the Hobby Boss F2A Buffalo, and it's 1/72 scale. It is a simple kit, relatively good detail, but you can see on the bottom here that there should be like a little window here, but that's just a transfer. That's not an actual window, which is a shame. But it's a simple kit, and you can do relatively good things with it. Not really much else to say. I think I got it like second hand as part of an eBay haul. I think I went a bit too over the top with the gloss on the metallic sides though, but it was all brush painted. This was pre-airbrush. Not a bad job on the whole. I think I'm going to take a quick break of about 5 minutes now whilst I get a drink. So use this time to go get yourself a drink. And there are still some more models to take a look at before we finish. So just give us 5 minutes and I'll be right back with you. There we go, so we're back now. And the next one we're going to look at is another vintage kit. This is the Revell JU87 G, I think. It's got the cannons in 1/72 scale. And I finished it off with some figures from Airfix in 1/76 scale and a little base as well. It wasn't a bad build, actually. Bit dusty now. I like that this one comes with an engine. I think it was an old Matchbox kit, possibly, or an old Frog. And there's your little engine cowling, goes on there like that. And I just put that off, and I had the engineers around it looking like they were working on the engine, which was good fun. And you got your two guys over here having a chat. So I think it might have been more like that before. He's underneath there, going up to the gun to fix it. And he's fixing the engine or about to climb the ladder. I think the ladder came from the Whitley kit that I had. It's not an amazing kit though. It's a very simple build. Details are okay. I struggled with the paint, if I remember correctly, because I used Humbrol acrylics and they weren't the best. Yeah, we got there. We got where we needed to go, but they weren't amazing. But yeah, for doing a fun little diorama base, this was fine. This was not too bad. Just need to up my diorama game, I think, now. Figures look quite happy though, don't they? Just having a little chat there. These are the 1/76 one. They're in that slightly weird plastic again. So they're not fantastic, but they do the job. They're a little bit undersized for the scale, but they are okay. Put him in the box. What else have we got? Oh, another old kit. Yes, here we go. This is a Sea Hawk. This is the Airfix Sea Hawk, 1/72 scale. And was there a spider on that one? Oh, right. I'd missed that. That's funny. Yeah, these have been on my shelf for a while. So we've got a Sea Hawk here, which is the Airfix one, which I had from a starter set from 2010, which was given to me. I did use the included white paint, and as you can see, it's not great. It's not great paint. It's all a bit blotchy. It's even yellowed in a few places, so it hasn't aged particularly well, even though we built it like 2 years ago. And it's like a 1950s tooling, so it's not a good kit. The fact that this was marketed as a starter set just blows my mind, because it isn't a starter set given the age and the work that you kind of got put in to make it look good. The tail looks a bit wonky there. Yeah, I know that they'd never do that now. Back in 2010, they were a bit rogue with what they were doing, but they wouldn't do that now because they have new rules. I do have another jet here in my immediate vicinity, which we can have a look at, and this one's a bit dusty as well. This has been right on the top of my shelf, and it's the Revell F117 in 1/72 scale. So even though it's 1/72 scale, it's still pretty big. It's still a chunky kit. But this is the I don't think it was marketed as a snap tight kit, but it is. I think it was a monogram kit before. Fairly simple to build. Details are moderate. Transfers are fine. Its paint scheme's easy because it's just one colour. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just feel like it was marketed as an easy build kit because everything sort of snaps together. But then Revell went, oh well, let's just market it a little bit more at market, put it in a nicer box, and then trick people into buying it for more than it's actually worth. Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine kit. It does the job if you want something to build. Something that I've got from Revell that I actually think is better, quality-wise, probably because it's a more recent tooling, is, and I'll just get it for you now, and it's another Star Wars kit. This is Obi-Wan Starfighter, and that was a super fun little build. A lot of cockpit glass there, so you can see Obi-Wan in there. Have to do a little bit of work on getting a relatively good representation of him in there. Did a bit of weathering. Got some blaster smoke on there. Got a nice little R4 droid in there. It's a little bit of a shame that these panels don't close, But it's a nice little kit to build. These Star Wars kits that Revell do, they might not be the most detailed in the world, but they are fairly all right. It would have been cool if the canopy could open and close so you could get him out, but he doesn't, so it is what it is. Yeah, I think they do an Anakin's one, which is yellow. That one would be worth getting. What have we got here? Oh, yeah. So there's my helicopter from earlier. So I was saying about the motorcycle rider. This is the helicopter that goes with it. Academy kit. The tooling is generally okay, but those transfers are pretty horrendous. They are not good transfers. The instructions aren't very good either. Yeah, so if you are going to get this kit, I'd say get it, but then maybe see if you can find different transfers for it, because the ones that I had were no good. I also struggled with the white paint, I think. White is really hard to get right, I find. I think you need to buy really high quality manufacturer white paint to get a good result of it. Just trying to find some space in the box for that one. What else have we got? We have this. This is a recent video, actually, even though it's not a recent kit. This is the Mr. Craft Fairey Fulmer in 1/72 scale. And I built this as part of another group build on the server. And this is actually all right. It's a fairly decent kit. Mr. Craft don't make their own toolings, as far as I'm aware. Everything they do is a rebox. This is an old Vista kit from like the 90s. But that being said, it's not a bad model. It's got fairly good detail, and I know Mr. Craft have put their own transfers in, which are not the best quality, but they are usable as long as you put some decal film on there. But yeah, this isn't a bad model. I could be tempted to get another one of these if they're still, up for grabs, and do it in another scheme. Yeah, not bad. The internal cockpit details are a bit questionable, but I'm sure you could probably scratch build some stuff for that if you wanted to. Let's put that in the box. I'm running out of space in this box now. This is an old kit. This is actually a vintage build. There's a MiG-21. So this was the Frog MiG-21. I think it was like 1960s vintage. You can see that the transfers have yellowed again slightly. I did put them in the sun to stop them from yellowing. I did seal them with a varnish, but over time it would appear that the yellowing has returned. But then again, I did build this in like 2018, so like 6 years ago now. Yeah, it's all right. This was a very simple build. Everything was just painted. There was no weathering or anything on this. I pretty much just painted it. I've learnt a lot since building models like this. That's a very vintage build of a vintage kit, as far as my channel is concerned. Let's see if we can put that in the box. Have the space for it. There we go. Oh, let's look at this. I am not sure. I think that's a Texan in captured colours. I can't even remember which company gave. I don't think a company. I think I got this back when I was into writing for magazines, and this was sent to me by the magazine, but I don't think they ever actually ended up using my review. I'm not sure they did. And I forget who this is by. It might be RS Models. It's not a bad kit. Details on it are pretty good. I did hand paint it. Maybe that's why they didn't use it. Maybe I should have airbrushed it. But then again, back in those days, I wasn't airbrushing. I didn't have one. Yeah, I think I did film this. I did film this build, but it was the old-fashioned build where it wasn't, fancy camera angles and stuff. It was just me building it like this in front of you. I might dig those files out and see if I've still got them. If you'd be interested in seeing a vintage from the archive, as it were, build of me building something back in the day, let me know in the comments. It'd be this. I think there might be another build as well that I did, which I recorded and never uploaded. But yeah, this wasn't a bad model if I remember correctly. The detail on the cockpit was fairly decent. Yeah, it's all right. Don't tend to see many of these kits walking around. Right, what else have we got? Let's take a quick look at the chat. I'll put this one on the screen and we'll have a look at the chat. What's going on here? I mounted the decals on, yeah. Oh, funny. Have an idea. Do I have an idea for what I'll do for it be broke? Yeah, I've got some ideas, but nothing solid yet. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do for the next group build. I was thinking something Star Wars related, because there's no restriction on the subject as such. So as long as there's a vehicle in it. I think everyone's going to do planes, though. So what's this one? What have I got here in front of me? Let's get some guesses in the chat. I don't think it's going to take you very, very long to guess what it is. Airfix starter set Spitfire. That's it. It's the Spitfire Mark V starter set. So this was designed as an actual starter set Spitfire. It builds like a starter set. It has the fit of a starter set. It has a little display stand. This is a perfect starter set. So when we looked at the Sea Hawk earlier, that wasn't a starter set. That was a vintage classic that was boxed up as a starter set. This was designed as a starter set. It only has X amount of decals. Everything more or less snaps together. The details are okay. The fit was good. The only thing I had trouble with was the paint, the actual paint, because the paint had dried out. The grey, I had to use a different grey. I think I used Tamiya grey. It's not quite the right match, but it's close enough. The green was a little bit of a strange colour as well. It was a bit too vibrant for my taste. It should be darker. But as far as starter sets go, this is fairly decent. And I wonder if you can get the starter set cheap enough and get some different decals and have a whole squadron of Mark V's. Yeah, not a bad kit. Just going to have to take the display base off to get it in my box. I think we're coming towards the end now, nearly. Yeah, so this is the Lysander. This was, I think I'll call it like kit rescue. I've got some kits that I need to rescue, which I either part started in my youth or whatever. But so this was an Airfix Lysander. I kind of killed it in my youth. The plastic melted a little bit. I don't know what I used. I must have used something with acetone in it. Again, on the top surfaces, there's a weird texture going on. But I picked it up, got some new decals for it, cleaned the paint all off, and then built it in army colours, and it looks okay on the whole. It's complete now. I think this was one of the earliest airbrushed models I did, and I can't remember wholeheartedly what I did for the camouflage scheme, but I do remember that I had to go back over things and fix them because I made mistakes. But again, modelling isn't about getting it right the first time. It's about making mistakes and then fixing them as you move forwards. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out. And it's slightly unusual. I don't think we'd see the Lysander again. This would be a vintage classic if it were to be brought back into the Airfix range now. So let's put that one somewhere in the box. And then, oh yeah, so this was one of my first airbrush models as well. And this was an absolute beautiful kit to build. The interesting thing is this came as a starter set. I think it's been classed as a gift set now. This is the Airfix Hawker Typhoon. Yeah, that's right, it is the Typhoon in 1/72nd scale, and it is a lovely little model to build. And it comes with bombs and rockets, and you can even have the gun bays displayed open. In a 1/72nd scale kit, you can have the gun bays open. It is a wonderful little kit, and even if you get the gift set version, you can have this option where the gun bays are open. Slightly more complicated to build if you do that, especially with the transfers. I had to cut them in a certain way to get them to fit. But yeah, a beautiful kit. Airbrushing wise then, I ended up with textured finish. I think it's because the paint dried as it was landing on the model, so it's not the best finish, but I've learnt from that and I've moved forwards with that, so I haven't made the same mistakes necessarily again. But yeah, I don't think I have another kit of this to build, but I wouldn't be put off getting another one. Maybe we'll see if they release it with a different paint scheme in the future, because this is a nice little model to build, and it's perfect as well if you want to do a little diorama and have people working on the guns. Yeah, that's a lovely little kit. If you haven't built one of these Typhoons, I suggest you go get one because they're fantastic. The new Tempest, has similar qualities to it as well, I think, from Airfix. I've got the new Tempest to build, which is in the post-war scheme, but I haven't done an unboxing or anything on it yet. What have I got left? Oh, this is up here. Let's get that one down. That's quite a big model for 1/72nd. 1/72nd scale Academy F104. I think I had to change out the pilot because the pilot that came in the kit was just a joke. Was it 1/72nd or 1/48? I think it's 1/72nd. Yeah, that's definitely 1/72nd. 1/48 would be bigger than that. It'd be like that. Someone was telling me in the comments on the video that the paint scheme that I've done here, even though it took me ages, I think I used Tamiya paints for this, even though it took me ages because it's slightly complicated and it's got awkward angles and stuff, was never actually used by the Marines, even though I used the painting instructions which were on the actual kit. You know, they came in the kit, they told me to paint it like this, so I did, and apparently it was wrong. This was the wrong paint scheme. So, yeah, thanks for that, Academy. But on the whole, this was a good practice for painting, actually. The decals are not good. They're the older style transfers from Academy. You can see that I've got some silvering, and they're very thick. I don't remember using cement on this. I might have used cement on it to melt it down, but I can't really remember. And I did a little bit of weathering, but not much, because the panel lines were not particularly prevalent. Yeah. If you want a 104 to build that's simple, this is simple to build, not necessarily so simple to paint. It wasn't expensive, it was like £8. But I think there are better 104s out there if you want one. So, where are we up to now? I'm running out of space in this box. I'll have to rejig that later. Up here we have... Oh, this is a recent kit. This is a recent video as well. So I finished this at the beginning of the year. Hobby Boss BF110 in 1/72nd scale. Simple kit. 2 paint schemes in the box, not expensive. Questionable detail choices in a few places. Big, massive machine gun on the back. I don't think that's scale accurate. Bomb racks mounted, but no bombs. No crew. Questionable detail in the cockpit as well. It's a simple kit. I tried to use a wet blending technique. So this was hand painted. None of this was airbrushed. This was hand painted. And I used a wet blending technique on the camouflage to try and do the mottling. And it's worked out okay. There is legs to that technique, but I'm not sure I've nailed it. Again, I used Humbrol paints and they weren't fantastic because they've got a grainy texture, especially on this lighter colour. But I used their weathering powders and they turned out alright. Yeah, I have got the transfers from the other scheme though, and I might build another 110 using those if I can get some plastic parts. I need to fiddle with the box to try and get them all fit in a minute. What else? I'm nearly at the end. I've got some more kits up here. I'll just pull them down. Just get them down from the top of the shelf. They're not right at the top, they're sort of halfway. So there is a NHS Charities Hawk. There must be another one up here somewhere because I built 2 of them. Yep, there we go. So there's another one. Let's plonk that one down there. And I can feel something else up here. Oh, yeah, that's horrendous. What's that? Oh, no, that's not it. I think we might have pulled all of them down for the time being. So I'll just have a quick look. I'm not going to fall off the scale, honest. Yeah, I think I've got them all. So I've got them all next to me now. So we're coming towards the end. There's about 6 or so left to go. Naturally, I do have other kits at other places. I just need space. So NHS Charities Hawks. This came off the back of the pandemic. This one in this hand was the Airfix design team version. And then they did a competition. And this was the competition winners version. As you can see, they do share some similarities in the paint scheme, but you know, I prefer this one. I think this one looks better. I like the tail on this one, but I like this one better with the love hearts and that on it. Transfers were fantastic. It really goes to show what Cartograph can do with their transfers. but quite similar in the paint scheme styles. The kit itself isn't too bad to build. This is the same kit that came with the club kit, I think, last year. But I had some strange reaction on the glass there. It's almost like the glue or the paint got underneath it and reacted with the plastic, which was a shame. But it happened on the same side twice. I don't know why it didn't happen on that side, but it did happen on that side. So that was a strange occurrence, and I'm not entirely sure why that happened. But yeah, not a bad kit to build. And it's a little bit more interesting on the shelf to look at. Speaking of interesting things to look at, I have this as well. This is I think it's the A6M20 in 1/72 scale. And I did this as another challenge build. So I used the cheapest paints I could find. So I limited myself to a £5 budget. And I ended up using like artist watercolors. I had a whole set. And yeah, this is what happened. It didn't end up looking too good. The black paint was the best. The green and the light color were pretty horrendous. The darker pigments were better, but yeah, it didn't turn out well. So you can build a kit with artist acrylics, but it doesn't look great because they're not optimized for plastic coverage. Yeah, so that was a fun video. If you want to see it, definitely go check that one out. I have actually got another one of these kits, exactly the same, and I was intending on doing a comparison build of how it should look in real life when you finished it. What else have we got? Oh, this was a nice build. This was a fun build. This one, I think this was built for another group build as well. This is the Airfix Tucano in 1/72 scale. Put it on a little display base. And yeah, this is a slightly older tooling. It's like an early 2000s tooling. It does have some of the modern features, you know, the recessed panel lines, good level of detail. Transfers were lovely. There are a lot of transfers on this one, actually. Forgot to put nose weight in, so that's why it's glued. It's glued to the base. But yeah, it was a fairly decent model, despite the fact it's not one of the newest kits in their range. If you want one, I'd suggest you go get one. Interestingly, there are transfers on the clear parts, which I wasn't really too sure how to handle. So they're on there, and I varnished them. They didn't. The glass has gone a little bit fogged up from that, so we'd have to investigate how to do that properly. But yeah, that's yeah. Let's put that one over there. I think I'm nearly at the end. So I do have a couple of extra things. Now, these are models that I built before YouTube. Long before YouTube, before I was on YouTube. And I'll see if I can get into the bags, because I was intending on using these as in some content, because I've got this P47. Again, I can't open the bag now. It's annoying. I think I might have another bag somewhere, so I'll just rip the bag open. We'll have a look in here. There we go. It's not particularly survived well. There's lots of bits there in the bag, which you can see, that have fallen off. I think I've managed to save most of them. So those of you who drop in on various other streams or on other channels that I appear on, you'll know that the P47, this one here, this very kit, was the very first Revell kit I ever built. So I'd gone from building stuff like the old Airfix Hurricane, the old Anson, all of those sort of things. I went into the shop and I really wanted a P47. Airfix weren't making a P47, but Revell had one on the shelf. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll give Revell a shot. And I opened up the box and I was met with recessed panel lines, rivet details, loads of transfers, rocket options. You know, I think even the canopy, that slides backwards and forwards if you're careful. You have to be very careful. Yeah, it slides backwards and forwards. Like, I looked at this and I was like, wow. That's Revell. That's what Revell can do. You know, engine detail, didn't have any of that with Airfix at the time. So I was like, this is what Revell kits must be like. I probably spent like a week painting this because there were so many transfers. There were so many different ways to depict stuff. I think, you know, caroling open, doing the paint scheme, because this was the first time I'd done blues, different kind of blues, and silver. I had to go out and buy paint for it because I didn't have the right ones. No varnish. I didn't put any varnish on it. I didn't know about varnish at the time, so the decals are just stuck straight on. But I was amazed. I was like, wow, that's a Revell kit. If all Revell kits are like that, that's amazing. And then you go out and you buy something like that P51D. And it's like, they're in the same kind of box. They're on the shelf at the same time. They're the same kind of price. But you've got something that looks like this. I mean, obviously, granted, it looks pretty bad because I was like 15 when I built this one, and I didn't really know much about model building at the time. I might have even been a lot younger, actually, than that. But you went from a quality kit like this to some absolute reboxed old vintage model, and I was like, what's going on? Why are they not consistent? Like, Airfix at the time were relatively consistent. You kind of knew what you were getting. But you went from like an amazing looking kit to a not so good looking kit. Yeah, so that is the first ever P47, first ever Revell kit that I ever made. And I plan on revisiting it to see if I can do better. I would hope that I can do better. And then in this little bag here, oh, this one's open. That's easy to get into. This is a Hella. I think there's probably some loose bits in there. This is a Hella 1/72 scale P51D Mustang. It's missing parts of its prop. This is an old kit. This is from my youth. Everything was hand painted, no masking. Because back then, YouTube didn't exist. You didn't know what you were doing. You just sort of got in, cracked on. This one, I remember building this on my grandmother's table. We had to put newspaper down because it was on a weekend. And I built it I think I started it in the morning and I had it done by the afternoon. I think I used enamel, so that's going some because obviously enamels don't dry. I think that's probably part of the reason why they look so blotchy on the bottom here. Yeah, I think I bought this because Airfix again didn't do P51, but our local shop had the Hella version. So I bought it and it was okay. I think I cut the canopy open to make it look open. I don't think it came like that. But yeah, it was a fun build. You didn't really care much. Like I've still got mold seams and bits of flash on there, so I didn't really care about it. I just wanted to build it and paint it and get it together. The tailplane's looking a bit questionable there, isn't it? But yeah, that was it. Those were the fun times. And that's kind of what got me hooked. It wasn't about making the best looking kit. It was about making a kit for you. So that is almost it. However, there is one model left on the shelf, so we'll get that one down. And then we'll call it a day. Anyone want to guess what the next or the last kit that I've got here is? Anyone want to guess? Let's get some guesses in the chat. Let's get some guesses in the chat. What's the last kit we're going to look at this evening? Robbie's asking if anyone knows where to buy the shorts Tucano. I'm not sure. You might have to just Google it. Look online. They're probably in second-hand sellers now. Let's see. Captain VFC, the P47 is not exactly an accurate shape. Yeah, I've been told that the P47 isn't an accurate shape. Dob Brown is asking, do I build kits off stream or do I film everything? I don't film everything. It depends. It depends on what I'm doing. Some things I might just build for me, but there are things, majority of stuff, if it's content related, I'll build it on a video, but I won't stream it. I tend to build a lot of things just with the camera. So I got like videos on, I've got YouTube on, music or whatever. So I'm not recording me doing it effectively. I'm not talking about it at the same time. Like they're not two camera kind of videos. A lot of it is done. I'll move the camera down and I'll fiddle with it over here, and then I'll move the camera over here. I'll plan my shots. Like I'll go, oh, this is the next step, but this is at a funny angle, so I'll move the camera to a different location, and then I'll do it that way. So it can be quite more time-consuming to do that. Eduard 109. No, it's not going to be an Eduard 109. It's not the 1/32 scale Revell Hurricane. It's not another Churchill. It's not another Spitfire. That's not what I've got on now. A P40. No, it's not going to be a P40. I think, though, I Have No Last Name has got it. I mean, Jeff 72 nearly had it right as well. It's my first ever kit. The first model I ever built is the last one here. So there it is. This is the first model I ever built in my modelling career. This is the Airfix 1/72 scale Mark II/4 Hurricane in 1/72 scale. And in my youth, my first kit, this had the option. You could either do a Mark II or a Mark IV. You weren't meant to do both. So I've effectively done both on this. It only came with 2 paints, which were the brown and the green. Didn't come with a paint for the underside, but it was molded in grey plastic, so I just left it as it was. And the Mark IV Hurricane, I think, had like 1 gun and a cannon. 1 gun and a cannon. Whereas the Mark II had wing guns here. But you can see that I've put all the guns on. And also, I think the transfers, AEK, were for the one with the Mark II version rather than the Canon version, because the other one needed grey, and I didn't have a grey. It was a grey and a green scheme rather than a brown. And I think you can tell that I made an absolute pig's ear of this, and I loved it. I was absolutely hooked after I built this. Yellow warning there. I managed to get some yellow paint, put that on. That's horrendously untidy. Transfers are all over the place. I painted over the landing lights. The canopy isn't painted and it's all fogged up from the glue. Decals are ruined. Like, what have I done to the decals? They've all folded over. That side's folded over. That's folded over. That's not in the right place. That's faded. That's folded over. That's folded over. I think even the gun here, this one's folded over. That's broken. The red dots, I've ruined them. I must have put my thumb on it and twisted it as I was messing around with it. Yeah. Glue. Look at that glue. Wow. Oh, there's yellow here smeared all over. Look at this glue here. I didn't sand off the seams there. I didn't sand off the mould gates. There, a lovely, lovely bit of flash on there, which I didn't clean off. Those transfers are not accurately placed. They're just like, ah, it's on the tail, that'll do. This was a challenge. I remember it being a challenge to build. It wasn't an easy kit. But I didn't know any different. I followed the instructions in the kit. The instructions in the kit was all the information that I had on how to build models. I thought it was going to be a bit like Lego, and I don't even think these cannons are glued on because I kept the rockets. It came with rockets and bombs, and I was like, I could interchange them. You'd take that off and put the rockets on. Oh yeah, it's going to be a rocket fighter today, and then put the bombs on. I was going to do some bombing later. Yeah, I only knew what to do from the instructions in the kit. Like, I didn't have magazines because, you know, they were expensive. I didn't have access to anyone I knew at the time who did modelling, who could help me. I didn't know about model clubs. I didn't know about... if I wanted to find information, I had to go find it. So, yeah, it was a strange time. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have forums. I mean, I didn't even have the internet until I was like 15. So, and then the crazy thing is, you look back at that, but you look back on this kit. If this was my first ever model and I put it on, I don't know, Reddit now, people will be like, that's horrendous. What have you done with your life? You know, you just stop building kits because that's horrendous. And then you compare it to some of the stuff that I've done now. If you told me when I was like 10 years old building this kit that I'd be where I am now, I wouldn't believe you. But what do you guys think of this kit? Do you think it's bad? Because I do now that I look back on it, but I'm keeping it because it's mine and it shows where I came from and it shows how many lessons that I've learned from that point. Let's have a look in the chat then. We all keep our first models, Ryan says. Well, we should all. I think we all should keep our first models. I know some people have said, oh, I didn't keep it, I threw it away, I was embarrassed about it, but in hindsight you really wish that you'd kept it. And I'm glad that I did. I did at times think, you know, I'm going to grow out of this. I'm not going to need this. I'm going to move on from this and I won't need it anymore. But I kept it all these years. even after moving away, moving back, moving around, getting married, having children, jobs. It's been there from the very beginning. Right, what are we looking at in the chat here? First model is long gone. Yeah, sadly that's the thing, isn't it? I think if we start modelling now, we should all keep them. Captain VFC says his first video he watched was one of mine. Yeah, funny. I must have liked that first model build, otherwise it was probably the only... Yeah, this is it. If you have a bad first experience, you're probably never going to do it again. But I had fun. I enjoyed it. And I mean, look where I am now. So I'm very, very glad that I did stick with it because I really enjoy this hobby. Jeff says it's worth keeping for sure. First build is long gone. No lines on the cockpit. Yeah, so they're molded. They're molded on. Canopy lines are on there, but I didn't paint them. And there's like a nice big thumbprint on there. Didn't know I was supposed to. Like I said, I only knew about model building about what they said in the instructions. If it wasn't in the instructions, I didn't know I needed to do it. Like thinning your paints. Why wouldn't the paint that comes in the set be ready to use? Why wouldn't it? Oh, well, you need to thin your paints. Well, why is that? Why wouldn't they sell me a product that is good to go out of the box? Why do I have to do more work to it? You know, that blew my mind when I found that out. Adding varnishes to prepare it for transfers, adding varnishes on the top, adding weathering, adding extra details. Nothing. I knew nothing about that. Nothing existed. I didn't like the fact that I needed a grey paint for the bottom. And I was like, well, I don't have a grey paint. The plastic is grey. Why don't I just use plastic? You know, I made these decisions and I was happy with their results. I didn't get nice straight edges there. That was another thing. The paintbrush that came in the set, that just wasn't fit for purpose. Look at the very untidy painting. I know, granted, my painting skills have improved, but they just weren't. The brush wasn't any good for that. What else have we got in the chat here? Oh, they didn't let you keep your kit, that one modeler. That's a shame. That is a real shame. Captain VFC has a few possible options for their first kit. There was one you helped with. First you did most of. The first I did all of. The answer to all three is a Spitfire. Of course it is. Of course it was a Spitfire. I actually wanted a Spitfire, but they didn't have one, so I ended up with the Hurricane. But that's good enough, isn't it? Makes sense. So I think it's probably time to call it a night there. We've been going... How long has this been going for now? I don't even know. Nearly 2 hours. Wow, this is nearly a 2-hour stream. So that's crazy. I thought it was only going to be like an hour, tops. Guess it takes a while to pack up all your kits, doesn't it? So a massive thank you to everyone for dropping in and spending some time with me this evening as I explore the kits that I have in my stash. If you like this one, drop a like, leave a comment, let me know which kit you like the most out of my stash, or my built stash, as it were. Quick shout out to my patrons. Massive thanks to my patrons and channel members for the extra support. Some of them have been in the chat. Those ones with the extra icons. If you want to join them, take a look at links in the description to find out how you can join them. There are other ways to support the channel as well if you would like to see more modelling content. And again, those links are down there. Thanks to those who gave super chats as well. Massive thank you to you for the extra support. I think, though, it's probably time to wrap this one up. There will be a new video coming out on Friday this week. It has to be Friday because I'm busy on Saturday, which is a start of a build. So make sure you tune in for that one when it goes live. Finally, I think the last thing to say is a massive thank you to all of you for joining me this evening and spending some time with me as I go through all of my crazy kits. And I will see you on the workbench again next time.